It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
Bear inside the 5. Bear into the end zone. It's a touchdown.
Cougar Sports Saturday, a presentation of KSL Sports.
Rob Wright the third. Just won it for BYU.
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Nate Slack, on your legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Welcome back into Cougar Sports Saturday. Mitch Harper and Nate Slack with you. 3 weeks from today, BYU football is back when the Cougars take on the Utah Tech Trailblazers. All of the action can be heard right here on KSL News Radio. And we know Cougar Nation is loud and proud. You make your voices heard. It's spanning, I think, the globe. Cougar fans pop up in all parts of the country and the world. It's a real thing with BYU fans. But it begs the question, Nate, is BYU football, focusing solely on football here, are they the team that gets the most love in the state of Utah? What would be your initial thought? Like, as far as most passionate fans in most fans in the state of Utah?
I would say yes. I would say they are. And I would say that because I think BYU's always kind of had an uphill battle where people disrespect BYU. They don't have the same conference affiliation as, like, they went 12 years in the wilderness with independence. They didn't have that Pac-12 logo next to their name. And I think even through the 80s and 90s, like, they were always a disrespected team. I think it trended a little up in the early 80s with their success, but I think BYU fans have been through a lot. And I think even selection committees, we talk about this every single year when the March Madness tournament comes around, where, the selection committees always seem to go against BYU. So I think BYU fans are grizzled veterans when it comes to dealing with difficult situations. I think it makes them more passionate fans.
Well, I asked this because the Deseret News actually dove into the data. A new Deseret News Hinckley Institute of Politics poll found 56% of Utahns, including 2/3 of men, consider themselves avid or casual college football fans. And when you dive deeper into the numbers, the new Deseret News Hinckley Institute of Politics poll found that Utah is the most closely followed team in the state at 36% among Beehive State voters who identified themselves as college football fans, followed by BYU 29% and Utah State 13%. More Utah fans in the state of Utah, or is this just this poll just fake news?
I don't think it's fake news. I think there's a lot of BYU fans, but I also think that through BYU's 9 years of losing to Utah consecutively, so the nine game losing streak, I think that hurt. I think being independent, where during independence we looked at it and it never felt like BYU was playing for nothing, but now being a member of the Big 12 Conference and looking back at it, that BYU UMass game had nothing to it. That playing Wagner, there was no juice in that stadium in 2015. So
it was cool to see 70 points, but it was like there was a whole lot of nothing on the line there, folks.
Yeah, so I think BYU probably lost a few fans in that, but I think it's trending up right now for BYU.
I agree. It was funny too. Again, it's a really cool piece by the Deseret News. 36% Utah, 29% BYU, 13% Utah State. It goes even deeper. 3% Weber State, 3% Southern Utah, 3% Utah Tech. How about this one? 3% Snow College. That's you are a diehard fan of JUCO football, folks. 8% a college football team outside of Utah. I could see that.
That's almost as big as Utah State.
Yeah.
13% for Utah State. 8%
That's interesting.
for outside of Utah.
2% not sure. And then I think is where it kind of gets interesting to me is in this story is the differences in the BYU and Utah fan bases. And I think it highlights why these two fan bases, not necessarily the teams and the coaches, because I think now, especially with football, the coaching staffs get along really well. And I think they've taken on an approach where, yes, we want to win that game like crazy. Don't get it twisted. Like, we want that game badly. But when the game is over, we got a lot of love for Kalani. We got a lot of love for Morgan Scally. I think that's where the coaching staff, they just look at it. And there's just so much crossover between the two that it's just like one big family. It really is with these two programs. But the fan bases, there's some differences within the Beehive State. Interesting data here. Gen Zers favor BYU over Utah 36% to 27%. Among baby boomers, BYU gets the nod at 32%, while Utah State comes in at 27% for baby boomers. Utah tumbles to third with 16%. Retired people favor the Cougars and Aggies over the Utes. The survey also shows that 56% of Gen Xers are Utah fans. That's the highest percentage among the age groups, while only 19% of Gen Xers cheer for BYU. Millennials, 40% go to Utah, 30% BYU. Does that surprise you at all? You're a millennial, correct?
Yeah.
I'm a millennial as well.
Yep.
I'm not surprised by that data, being a millennial myself.
No, not at all. And I think, we both grew up on the west side in Salt Lake Valley. So I grew up in West Jordan. I believe you were West Valley.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so we both went to school, I imagine, with lots of Utah fans, and it felt like I was the only BYU fan in my school. So this does not surprise me the slightest bit.
No, I'm with you there. Like, I thought I was just like this. I really thought there was no people that like college football other than me. Like, I thought I was the weirdo in the world where it's just like, does anyone like college football? Like, the Jazz are great, but...
You know that meme of the kid who's sitting by himself and they have like the rest of the class on the opposite side of this picture? Sometimes I felt like that growing up.
I feel you.
Even the Utah fans who claim to be Utah fans, it didn't feel like they were actually invested in these games. Look, I'm going to throw my brother-in-law under the bus too. Here we go.
Oh, some family shade.
Well, when he started dating my sister, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a big Utah fan." And so one of the first times that we ever did anything together, we went bowling as a double date. And so it's my wife, me, my sister, and her husband, and now husband. And we're bowling on a Thursday night. And I'm like, this guy said he's a Utah fan. Utah's playing right now.
That always drives me crazy. Like, I always hate it. I love that you bring that up because I always hate it if I'm at, say, I don't know, somewhere out and about running an errand or a store or something, and say like the NBA finals. I remember I was traveling actually, and I was at some restaurant, and there was someone wearing Knicks stuff. I'm like, the Knicks are playing right now. This wasn't like some sports bar restaurant where TVs are galore. It's like, they're playing right now, but yet you're wearing Knicks stuff. They're playing in the or like the Eastern Conference Finals right now. Why are you not home watching it? Maybe we're just so extreme with our behaviors that like
maybe
we just block off our schedules. My wife had to learn that too when I was dating her, when we like approached this topic, because I was kind of like Jimmy Fallon with Fever Pitch, where it's like I kind of hid it for a while a little bit, but then I'm like, hey, by the way, I've got this like secret hobby, or not the secret, but like it's a pretty big part of my life. Oh, she's like, you like sports, huh? I'm like, you can say that. Yeah, my brothers, they watch the games, they scream at the TV. Yeah, it's a little bit different than that. It's a big part of my life, but anyway, we're happily married and loving life. But anyway, there's different layers to this. And I think what's also fun in this data from the Deseret News and the Hinckley Institute poll, the Deseret News notes religion was factored into this. 37% of individuals who identified themselves as Christian closely follow BYU, which, of course, sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Nearly a third follow Utah, while just 1 in 10 are Utah State fans. Almost half of those who self-identified in the survey as religious, non-Protestant Catholic root for BYU, compared to about 1/4 for Utah. More than 6 in 10 who identified as agnostic, nothing, follow Utah. So again, like it's the demographics of BYU and Utah. When I tell people that are not familiar with this rivalry, I hate the whole good versus bad angle that some BYU fans like to paint, and I think Utah does the same with BYU. But like, it's kind of public versus state. Like it's two different worlds and two different types of fan bases coming at it in these games. And, it just makes for kind of a toxic rivalry. And then also politics were factored into this too. Self-identified Democrats are big on Utah, but not BYU. Republicans favor BYU, though the age gap over Utah is much smaller than it is with Democrats. 47% of Utahns in the poll who voted for Kamala Harris in 2024 are Utah fans compared to 20% BYU fans. Among those who marked a ballot for Donald Trump, 35% roll with BYU, 29% roll with Utah. What a guy! What a great fan base, I guess.
That's why this rivalry is so toxic, man.
Oh yeah,
people outside of the state just don't understand when. So I got excited. I think it was last week when I saw the CFP official account basically say BYU Utah is a top 5 rivalry because they had
that was cool.
Alabama Auburn in there. They had
I was fired up.
Yeah, they had Oklahoma Texas. They had BYU Utah. But they don't understand the juice there is between this because you get religion involved, you get politics involved.
Oh, yeah.
And it's every day of the year.
I will say one of the funny things, I remember being on the field in 2024 at Rice-Eccles Stadium. BYU wins that game, of course, Will Ferrin. We all know the story there. But I heard in the crowd, because again, I'm on field level, there was some Utah fan that was wearing a Trump hat, whatever. But because that was on the heels of the election that night. But he's basically said, so glad Biden's out of office because we've been winless against BYU in the Biden era. And now, I guess the Trump era, it's still been kind of good. The Trump era the first term was better for Utah during the Trump time, but second go around, it's been all BYU so far. We'll see how it goes this year. But I thought that study from the Deseret News was really interesting because, again, it highlights just the differences between these fan bases. Age gap, political, religion. They just clash, man. It's blue versus red, and that's how it's always going to be. They're never going to get along, the BYU fans and the Utah fans, but should make for a great game coming up once again this fall. Let's close out the show next here on Cougar Sports Saturday.